Right, let's take it back now to one of our leading stories tonight here on the channel. ANC announcing its top 6 leadership contenders in Johannesburg earlier today. Party President Cyril Ramaphosa got the nod for a large number of branches ahead of rival Dr. Zweli Mkhize, Party Treasurer General and Deputy President nominee Paul Mashatile secured 1,791 nominations, beating NEC member Ronald Lamola and Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane to distant second and third, respectively. Well, joining us now to help us chart the way forward towards Newzroom is the Deputy President nominee and current Party Treasurer and Acting Secretary General Paul Mashatile. Too many hats, all on one head, all at the same time. Good evening, and thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Thabo, and thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, looking at Twitter trends, let me ask, who will be Deputy President of the ANC?
We don't know because, nomination is not the end of the road. There's still going to be an election when we get to conference. So for now, it's just nominations.
So there's been some analysis and talk around particularly your position and how you have played your own campaign. First and foremost, put it on the table, was there a deal between you and KwaZulu-Natal that you've reneged on?
No, not at all. In fact, one of the decisions we took when we started with this process for December was to kill slates. You'll recall, Thabo, that in the past conferences, there was this issue of slates. So you have a team that comes together, stays together right up to the end. This time we said, let's leave this opportunity to the branches to nominate whoever they think is fit for the position. So when I was nominated by KZN, they didn't pair me with anybody. They nominated me. And I'm still on that position to say thank you very much for the nomination. Let's continue that way. The branches themselves will unite us. And already you can see with the nominations being announced what the branches are thinking. But it doesn't stop.
So there's no fear as far as you're concerned that those 521 votes coming from KwaZulu-Natal will soon disappear because you have obviously not brought those who support you to come along and support their candidate, which is Dr. Zweli Mkhize.
No, not at all. We will continue to talk with all the delegates because we have not closed the door for them to discuss there and there. But all in all, I think the priority must go to the nomination of branches. And that I guess KZN will discuss with other provinces. They will find one another. I think the important thing is branches must be happy that whoever they've nominated is fit for purpose.
Right. As you sit, I mean, you look at the numbers, fairly close of the 4,000 and so branches, 1,791 of them are saying you be Deputy President, looking at the 2,000 or so that President Cyril Ramaphosa got.
Yeah.
Do you look at that and think, maybe I can run for president?
No, not at all. I think this thing requires a lot of discipline. When you are nominated by branches, they have confidence in you. So stay there because that's where they want you. So we are happy with those who support me where we are. Yeah. And we'll continue that way to conference.
So I looked at that long list. There's at least one branch that thought maybe you could certainly give it a go and become president.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's not something that would come to your mind at all.
Not at this stage.
Do you support second term of President Cyril Ramaphosa?
Well, I think the fact that branches are nominating him, it means they have confidence in him. My approach has always been the candidates should not select one another. So I always stay away from commenting on other candidates, whether they are fit for the job or not. I respect the fact that the branches are nominating them, and I think that should be the case.
Yeah. Were you surprised? I mean, surely you can't tell us that you sat here and you saw the numbers, you thought, 1,791 branches, think I should be Deputy President. There must be work that you have done towards that.
Not really. I think When I was going around the country recently, I met branches that said we support you, but I had not had a chance to go around a lot because of the work I do at Luthuli House. But I kept hearing stories that, hey, you are being nominated. Yeah. But it's difficult because, the envelopes got sealed, and so it remains speculation. So I did expect that there will be a number of branches nominating me, but I couldn't predict that it will be the number that we see today.
So is there, in your view, within the ANC, a divide between those who work for the ANC and those who are members of the ANC at branch level? Because those who work for the ANC, who haven't been paid in a couple of months, don't necessarily think you're doing a good job as the TG of the ANC. So I doubt whether they would want to nominate you to get back in any position in that top 6.
Well, those who work for the ANC may not think I'm doing a good job because they are directly affected. But sometimes this thing is just blown out of proportion. Members of the ANC in the last 5 years have not gone for months without salaries. Sometimes it's 2 weeks later and so on, but it has not been months. But one thing that people also forget, that we have not retrenched anybody even during COVID. We kept everybody on payroll. We kept paying them even when they were sitting at home. We kept paying them. So as I speak to you now, members of the ANC have been paid up to date. So it's always difficult that we pay them.
There are some who are going on the ticket that says that in the 110 years of the existence of the African National Congress, they are seeing for the first time the ANC being unable to meet its contractual obligations to its employees. To them, that indicates the weakest ever leadership running the ANC.
No, it's not true. In fact, it's out of context, because if you look at the history of the ANC, in exile, the ANC lived on donations from all over the country. We came back into the country. Everybody was supporting the ANC. So the support was in abundance. But if you look at what happened after COVID, a lot of the companies that supported the ANC were actually struggling. The ANC income at the moment is skewed from membership to private sector. I always say that to the NEC, to say almost 70% of our income comes from private businesses. So if private businesses are not doing well, we also suffer. And if you look at the period after COVID, that's when we started to have big problems. Then there was the new law that requires disclosure, and it has a limit of 15 million donations a year. We started having challenges. But I must say that the private sector is still supporting us. So yes, we may not be as good as we were 5 years ago when we had more resources, but we are surviving, and we will be able to have a successful conference. We are currently raising funds. We will pay our staff. But yes, the funding environment is not as good as it used to be.
At some point, we would have heard, it was a contested figure. Others were saying it's true, others were saying it's not, that in one of your campaigns, you spent R1 billion. You'll tell me that if it was true or not. But when you listen to that and you say you would spend R1 billion on an elections campaign, who sat and came up with the threshold of 15 million and thought, this will be fine, the ANC will be okay when we put it? Because it's you who came up with this policy as the African National Congress.
Well, it's actually true that when the law was passed, the ANC was part of those processes.
Large part of this process.
Indeed. And we ourselves have been saying that, what happened here, because, our budget is quite big, and this limit of 15 million is going to affect us. In fact, one of the things I did as soon as I became treasurer, I went to the Minister of Finance and said, we need to change this. At the time, it was Tito Mboweni. I had discussions with him. I said, let's remove this threshold. We had no problem with disclosure, but we thought it could be higher, but let's remove the threshold. He thought it was a good thing. Thirdly, I said, let's increase party funding. Then Comrade Tito left. Then there was a new minister. I went to the new minister, Kodongwane. He actually did increase party funding this particular financial year, but not to the extent that we wanted. In fact, when I sent my proposal to them, I said, make it R1 billion. Because already my expenditure was projected at 500 million a year. But that was not to be. We didn't get what we want. But at least he did increase it a bit, so we're able to survive. But it's important that democracy should be funded by the state. Because otherwise we rely on private interests. Yeah. And it's not good for democracy.
This question of disclosure, of course, keeps coming up over and over again as it refers to the ANC's own internal campaigning machinery. One of my colleagues had, for example, a conversation with Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, who says, one, maybe I'm not as popularly nominated by the branches, one, because I don't have the resources, but two, because maybe I'm not the right gender. I'll come back to the gender question because it's a question on its own. But the question of resources. I don't know what the situation is now, but I think as early as this weekend, there were reports that those who are contesting still have not disclosed their financial situation to the Electoral Commission. Is there a problem of disclosure within the ANC itself, besides anything else?
I don't think so. I think it's a question of when are people ready to do it. The new way of doing things now in the ANC is that the Electoral Commission handles all that. So former President Comrade Kgalema is in charge of that. So all the candidates will go to him to disclose. They won't come to the SGO. Yeah. So I have no way of knowing who has disclosed, who hasn't. But Comrade Kgalema, in discussion with them in the Electoral Commission, said now that they've announced the nomination, they do hope that people who are campaigning will come forward to say, my campaign has cost me so much, here are the receipts and the document, etc. So I'm sure he's the right person who, at some point, will be able to announce that.
But is that a compulsory thing? Do you feel for yourself it's a compulsory thing that you are going to do?
It's a necessary thing because we adopted.
Necessary or compulsory thing that you must do?
It's necessary because you may not, some of the people who are said to be campaigning may not really be campaigning. So you can't force them to disclose what they haven't done. They have not called any meeting and so on. So, but the rule says if you have, then disclose. So those who are campaigning, we have called meeting in a particular hall, and so on, will disclose. So I told my team that when I go out to a particular place, we hire a hall, we buy food for participants, let's keep the receipts because we are going to disclose.
Let's take a break. When we continue next, we'll get into the other issues around the renewal of the party and, of course, the resolutions that still have not been implemented. Your thoughts tonight on the conversation on 072-110-554, or you can tweet us tonight at Newzroom405. Paul Mashatile still with us. Back live with you tonight here on In Focus, and thanks for staying on. Nominated by branches for the position of Deputy President, Paul Mashatile is with us in the studio, telling us that no, he's got no appetite to be the president, not just yet. That's where the branches have kept him as Deputy President. That's where he will stay. Analysis so far, looking at the numbers, one says, is the ANC as leader of society telling us that they are not ready for women to hold significant political position within this party?
Well, there are a lot of women in the NEC currently. And if you look at the nominations broadly, there are a number of women who have received nominations. Unfortunately, for position of president and deputy, not enough. Yeah. But if you look at other positions, there are women who are featuring. But of course, the difficulty with the top 6 is it's just top 6 positions. It's always difficult to judge there. So normally what we do, we look at the entire 86. And you will say that when we elect the entire 86, you will have more than 51% women.
So, I mean, the fact that currently those that we are looking at, for example, are for supportive position of DSG. I mean, saying the sense is that the branches feel significant political roles like that of president and deputy president and the administrative role of SG, those should be occupied by men.
Well, I don't know what the branches think, but my sense is that they regard all the top 6 positions as important. If you look at the role of the DSG, is quite involved. It's not just the SG. Without the DSG there, it would be a big challenge. I think with time, we'll see more women occupying this position of president, deputy president, because you don't sometimes know what the branches are thinking. Someone was even complaining that even the Women's League itself did not nominate a woman. Yes. But my sense is that I think they are looking at who's fit for purpose for that position rather than gender. But we are encouraging branches that with time, let's bring more women. There's more training in the ANC, political education. But remember, Thabo, we come from a patriarchal society. The problem starts there on the ground, in our homes. By the time you get to a branch meeting of the ANC, people are trapped in those values. And it will take a bit of time to come out of them.
Let's talk about branch meetings and what is going on in the Mangaung area. My conversation with them, I think it was yesterday, if not earlier in the week, is that their disputes have been escalated to province, they've been escalated to national, and it seems the interim team that you have put there is just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so where they are sitting now is almost an ultimatum to say, well, address our disputes or we are going to go to court and interdict the conference.
In fact, we are addressing all disputes. The disputes of the Free State have been addressed over time. Most of them have been resolved, but some of them have nothing to do with national conference. It's disputes that are related to regional conferences. Yeah. But we have taken a view that let's try and resolve all the disputes as soon as we possibly can. But it is clear that some of the regional conference will not happen this year because 3 weeks to go to national conference, everybody's focusing on national conference. But we will try our best to ensure that where disputes have been sent to head office, it's mainly appeals when they come to us. We resolve them speedily. I know that by the previous week, the National Dispute Resolution Committee was sitting with only 24 disputes and decided that by the time the NEC meets on the 9th of December, all the disputes would be resolved.
And those are not disputes of Mangaung?
No, it's disputes of all over the country. The Mangaung ones are part of that, and there are not many that has come to us for appeals because disputes are normally handled right from the branch. Right. And if things don't work, you appeal to the region and the province. Yeah. Then if you are not happy, you appeal to national. So you might find that there may be some disputes still at branch level, but as soon as they come to us for appeal, we resolve them speedily. Yeah.
So at this point, there is nothing on your desk that seeks to dissolve the interim structure that is there?
No, in fact, we have decided that this interim structure should finish the job that we have given them, and then we have a proper PEC. In fact, some of them have been coming to us and say they will be ready very soon to have their PEC. The convener spoke to me last week and said, I think we're getting ready. Then the coordinator said, well, we're left with 11 branches. I said, okay, guys, as soon as you're ready, let me know. We'll allow you to go in, have a proper PEC, so that you can come to conference, not as an interim structure, but a properly constituted provincial executive committee.
Let's talk then a little bit about the challenges, right? Organizationally, but the challenges also at the country at large. As you come in as the role of Deputy President, I looked at it. Your role as Deputy President, of course, is to support the President, is to step in when the President is not there, even at a party level, right? Never mind then at government level, it's probably a completely different thing. You'll be responsible for government business, so to speak. Let's start at party level. Is a renewal in the organization something that is happening, or is it something that has been a dismal failure? What do you think could be done better as you come in as Deputy President, if you do?
It is happening. Remember, renewal straddled around various factors. One is you look at leadership of the party. Do you have credible leaders there? Do you have selfless leaders, people who are committed, courageous? Then you look at the party structures themselves. Are the party structures fitting a modern organization? And that's why we decided to structure our organization through the ward structures. So our branches are ward-based. We moved from township or city to wards so that we make them smaller structures so that everybody can participate within the ward. So that has been done. But renewal also means, is the party in touch with the people? Does it live amongst the people? Does it understand their challenges? Is it dealing with them? So the commitment now is that as we talk about renewal, is to take the party to the people, to deal with the problem of service delivery. You know that at the moment we have serious problems in many communities, whether it be no proper roads. Some communities will complain about water or electricity. So a renewed ANC must be an ANC that is prioritizing those issues, putting people first, so to speak, and have a leadership that is in touch with those issues of the people. So that's really what we're doing at the moment as we talk about renewal. But lastly, you want leaders who are united. Without unity, there can be no renewal.
Yeah. And that is the challenge, isn't it? Because when we look at what you just said now, an ANC that is outward looking, that is looking at the needs of the communities, that is addressing the needs of the communities, and an ANC that is united. It's absolutely not what we're seeing now. One, we are seeing an ANC that is preoccupied with internal party politics, a president who's got pala hanging on his neck, hasn't answered to anyone, waiting for processes, has not even answered to the party from what we're hearing from others who are in the party. We have an ANC that is, for example, in Ekurhuleni, where we're hearing that the chairperson of that region did not listen to instruction from province. So again, there's a dispute, there'll be disciplinary or whatever it is that will come from. So we're seeing an ANC that instead of addressing for example, the garbage issues of Ekurhuleni, right? Well, they're not in power now, but when they were, they are fighting amongst each other, and so the things just never really do get addressed.
No, we do have those challenges, and that's why when we talk about renewal, we want to turn those attitudes around. We are saying to our leaders, prioritize the people. Let's move away from internal fights, factions, and focus on the real issues that affect the people. So Ekurhuleni comrades must be focusing on those problems that are affecting people there. The national leadership of the ANC must focus on the people, on the issues affecting our people countrywide, rather than preoccupy themselves with issues that affect us as leaders of the ANC. So that's the thrust of the renewal as we go towards this conference.
Okay, I'm going to let you go because of time, but here's a final question. What is the ANC's position on the outcome of the Chris Hani matter? I see one of the premiers of the ANC, Panyaza Lusufi, saying it's a miscarriage of justice.
Tomorrow we are having a meeting of the Alliance Secretariat. I was just talking to Comrade Zweli Mkhize. We are obviously pained by the death of Comrade Chris Hani. Many of us in this country have not healed from that incident. And therefore, when you have a decision that allows the killer, the perpetrator, to go free, we are bound to, feel the pain even more. But we decided that let's not fight with the courts. Let us come together and see what needs to be done. The SACP has already said they want to protest, so they'll raise it tomorrow. We will probably support them as the ANC, but we're not going to fight with the judge. They probably looked at the law and the constitution, but to us it's emotional, and the protest will allow us to ventilate our anger, our frustrations, but more importantly, the healing. If you look at Hani, she's feeling the pain. Yeah. And that's really, South Africa needs closure at some point. And some of the leaders were saying, look, this guy did not even disclose the whole conspiracy of the murder of Chris Hani. So he should actually be in jail. But we will finalize this matter tomorrow when I meet with other leaders of the alliance at what to do. We can't change the decisions of the courts, of the higher court, but we have not completely healed.
TG, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on and being with us today here on In Focus. That is ANC's party treasurer as well as the acting Secretary General.